Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to H2O Explains. Currently, hello everybody watching on Twitch. This is a live H2O Explains. We're doing this as part of a Sunday special stream on the ESOC Twitch channel. For those of you who do not know what the ESOC Twitch channel is, it's the Twitch channel owned by the ESOC community, or ESO community, I should say. Do head on over to that. Give it a follow if you're watching this on YouTube. Make sure you know what ESOC is, the website hosting the tournament, bringing you all of this Age of Empires action over the coming month that will be coming up. But we have H2O Explains today. Hello, everyone in the Twitch chat and on YouTube as well, I suppose. Hello, H2O as well.
Hey there. Thanks for the great introduction. So
This is the first, long.
Yeah, this is the first time we're ever doing this live, so we'll see how this works out. Just to give a kind of an introduction to the game, it's a game against Kanisi, and he's playing Japanese, and I'm playing India. This was recorded a long time ago. I actually streamed this game live when I first came back. And in general, he's kind of going for the usual Kanisi style, which is a lot of walls, a lot of turtley style play, and so this kind of showcases some of my strategies to deal with that. And I'll point out other things as I see them, but that's kind of the high level of what we're looking at here.
All right, so
yeah.
Obviously, H2O, currently we're watching him. He is the blue player, putting on the fog of war, so we get to see what's going on here. 90 wood, by the looks of it.
Yeah, he got this 90 wood. I tried to pick it up, but couldn't quite get it. So, there's nothing really to it there, right? I mean, one thing that you'll notice that I talk about a lot on these is knowing the map, and you'll see from what I've already scouted that I know the map. This is Silk Road. And so there's two big treasures that spawn. There's one here and one here-ish. So I found them both, and then one was only coins, so I just kind of sat on the wood and waited for him to get it. And, now at this point I'm just kind of scouting for other little, like maybe I can find a 50 wood or something like that if I get lucky now.
Of course, wood for India, or any civilization, really, really quite important. Were you specifically waiting? You said you were waiting for him to get it. Did you want him to go for it so you could grab it?
I was actually rallying my monk over there. I would have gone for it, but he started it, and I only had one monk there, so I had to wait. And here I find a 40 wood just by scouting around the map.
Yeah, pretty nice. So obviously H2O playing as India, as we can see, and the opponent playing as Japanese.
Yes.
As has been shown as well. Currently your first shipment, quite an obvious one there. Not much to say, right?
And I'm going to try to fast forward through some parts of this because it is a bit longer of a game and I want to be able to finish by the 30-minute mark. But so one other thing to point out here is I'm obviously chopping wood, and normally you put 6 on wood, and the goal is to have just enough wood so that way when you hit 100 wood you can queue up the villager and have 800 food to drop your wonder. So you'll see I'm already sending out a villager to kind of set up my forward wonder, getting it in position, and right now I'm really just trying my best to time this value to be exactly 100 and this to be exactly 800.
Oh, I see. So you can get that down and get a villager in queue, and then you switch all your villagers back to wood, or at least a lot of them, so you can get the next 100 wood for the next villager.
Yep, and you'll see I missed the mark by about 40 wood, which is more than I would like, but I mean it's also not terrible at the same time.
No, that's still good. A really tight timing, and definitely something that's worth doing as India.
And it allows you to do one vill on the wonder. You'll notice a lot of people will do 3 or 4 or do a 10-10, and I do neither. I put one vill on the wonder, and I bank on having a solid macro in H1 that kind of covers for that. So I'll still age up at a reasonable time, but just with much more resources in the bank. Another thing to note about India, you'll see I'm getting civil servants first, and the reason behind getting these these ones improve all your resource gather rates. The reason why you get this one first is because it impacts wood, and obviously you have a lot of guys on wood in the early game, so it's important to get that one first.
Yeah. I love that. The villagers going in queue there. Is this like timed? Obviously you got the next villager in queue perfectly after you queued up that 100 wood you gathered perfectly. But you don't need all of them on wood. What's some of the food is obviously for the upgrades, right?
Yeah, the goal is you want to have enough resources to get all your upgrades kind of queued up. You're looking for 150, 150, 150. You'll also notice as a side note, whenever you get a chance to do this, if you see a Japanese player trying to aggressively shrine on you and like steal your hunts, you really have to have a vill out there and herd it away. So I messed up here and let him take one animal, but a shrine with only one animal on it is is about half the value of a shrine with 4 on it. You'll see this is 0.27, this is like 0.48. So by hurting this away, I've actually denied him half of a shrine almost, or half of a villager.
Or maybe even less than half, or more than half, rather, I should say. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
definitely worth doing, herding them away. Something to look out for. Any shrines being placed on top of you.
yep, exactly. And the same with the wonder position. I chose this position because I wanted to have proximity to a lot of the hunts I knew he would be on.
Yeah.
So this strategy is a little different from what most people will do. I'm not actually going to try to rush underneath his town center and do a lot of damage. I'm more trying to control the map and kind of play the longer game.
Yeah. India has a pretty decent economy actually. I feel like sometimes it is underestimated when in sort of the shadow of British and say Japan, but specifically Japan here. You think that's still viable, still a good idea despite the sheer boom power that Japan has in the late game? You think India, even if with this, like you're shooting the hunts away, you're controlling the hunts with the fort, do you still think you can not well? What do you think? His economy is going to be good, right?
Yeah, I think it may be better to do a bit of a rush here, which is something that I've changed since playing this game. But at the same time, I think that this is kind of how you follow up after the rush. So this will kind of highlight,
Uh,
it'll highlight how you should be playing the game after you kind of rush a bit.
Okay, so you're gonna play aggressive still, but not like super all in under the
I
TC.
won't, but in the future I would, and not in this game I won't. But you'll see. Like I'm also spreading out my siege. Like I've just got these two that came out of the TC, coming
Mm,
right to the closest shrine, and then I'm making 5 Sepoy, and they're going to a shrine. And the reason why I chose this shrine actually is because it's far enough away where if he makes Yumi in base and tries to send them, he won't be able to get to it, so I can just kind of safely siege.
yeah. Okay, pretty clever.
Another thing to notice is I'm not totally committed to doing siege or to rushing him, right? So I've sent pure eco cards behind this. I sent 300 export for the Ottoman Vills, and now I'm sending the foreign logging, which is 5 more Vills shipment. So I'm basically saying I can keep up with the Japan eco, and while I'm sieging shrines, I can definitely keep up.
Yeah, and just booming alongside it, making villagers non-stop, getting these upgrades and shipments, and just using your excess resources really to make a couple of units to siege with it and bring these down. I like how you are spreading it out, going to get maximize the amount of shrines that you can possibly kill, given the circumstances. But still, you said you would normally super rush. Why not this game then?
It was one of my first games back, so I hadn't kind of remembered that yet. But one other thing to notice that's important here is I did also change my rally point of my villas. This vill messed up, but I changed the rally point for my shipment of 4 villas from the Ottoman consulate. I had it come out of the Wonder, and that's to minimize walking time because I've got all these hunts out here. I want to minimize walking time to get out of the Wonder and have them just kind of gather up here.
Yeah.
Because I've already
Wait.
got a bunch of villas coming out of the TC to gather resources at home, so I want to kind of use that gather point to my
Oh, I
advantage.
see. So you're using. Does that include the villages you get from the Ottoman consulate? I mean, sorry, the ones you get from shipments as well as the Ottoman consulate.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
so that's one. The goal I'll pause it for a second to explain actually. Like when you're playing any civilization in this game, you want to minimize the amount of time your villagers spend walking. I know Zuda talks about it as like the little box,
The
right?
the
Keeping all your
box
stuff in
theory.
your box. Yeah, exactly. And to
Think
kind of
inside the box, guys.
yeah, he's saying that if you keep all your resources really close to your town center, you'll ultimately be safer and gather more resources.
Yeah.
But to build on that idea, you can also use rally points. So I'm using this Wonder rally point to kind of get my bills on the resources faster.
Yeah.
Also with British, it's also like why I send one bill out early to herd each hunt and build houses with it, so I don't
Right.
have to actually walk to the hunts.
So they villages that are created have no walking time. For those of you who aren't familiar with the box idea, it's a Zuta explanation, which is, he talks about it in all of his coaching videos up on the official channel, where you can see H2O's dragged a box here. That's usually including a couple of trees, your first gold mine, and all of your hunts. You want to keep your villagers inside the box and make your box as small as possible. And that's really the box idea. Zuta, if you can go ahead and watch some of Zuta's explanation videos as well. But yeah, I'll deal with the phone. Continue.
All right, so you'll notice as I kind of pointed out, he's coming out with his Yumi, right? So by sieging back here, I'm guaranteeing to get the 2 shrines where I wouldn't have been able to get them before. Since I am going for eco as well as military, it's kind of hard to contest his Yumi numbers. And same with up here, right? This shrine's also going to go down. He can't really defend all the locations, but you'll see he sends the best heroes. This is very typical. This is kind of a weak point actually in my build because he's got more army than I do. So I've killed this shrine and I'm kind of going to back off here. And
Right.
yeah, so that's kind of what's going on here. I'm still, you'll notice my eco is way stronger than a typical
better
India
take
player
this.
would be. Yeah, that's fine. So you'll see we have the same number of villagers. He's got 140 shrine pop, but I have 2 trickles coming in and better market upgrades. So I'm only slightly behind in eco. The other thing I'm doing now is I'm dropping a stable, and the reason why I'm dropping the stable is because obviously I've seen a lot of Yumi, and so I'm going to try to kind of surprise him when he tries to defend his shrines. So these guys are now kind of acting as bait almost. And I will fast forward again. This is actually, as you can see, I'm starting to get further and further behind. So this is kind of why I was saying you'd want to harass early, just because if you harass early, you wouldn't even have to deal with this phase, because you would just be kind of ahead. And you'll see I'm slow to react here, and this costs me a lot. It's really important to keep these sepoy alive, because what they really bring to the table is siege damage, and that makes him have to leave his base. I'll pause for a second to explain that too, I guess. Like, it's the same concept when you're playing any other civilization against Japan. You may make 5 to 10 pikes, and what they do is they put Japan on a clock. The more siege damage you have, the more pressure Japan is under to come out of their base and defend their shrines. You know, imagine I had 1 pike on this shrine. He may not even come out of his base or care about it. But if you have 10 pikes, then he's going to need to do something about it. So, same idea. Losing those sepoy is actually a pretty big hit to me. It's going to slow down all of my timings on hurting his eco quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's not like you can replace them, right? Because you're going to be wanting to do other things, and even if you do replace them, you could have had more of them.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't want to have to do that. It's like losing army for free.
Yep, exactly.
And you'll also notice I'm sending 4 Soar out to this side of the map, and that's because I'm trying to kind of keep his re-expansion down. Also something I'm kind of struggling with doing here. But being able to, any time you kill an explorer is a good thing. And I apparently left this explorer to hang. I should have finished that explorer off and then left. But you'll see he's putting a lot of pressure on me. I think he feels very confident right here. And so I'm kind of pulling back and trying to kite back.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that, yeah, and this is kind of like a little point on a micro. As he comes in hand attack, I micro the camels away. And when he goes back into range mode, I go right back in. And the idea is that
they never actually take damage.
Yeah, the muskets just don't do good damage in ranged attack, really, to cav.
Yeah, and the longer they're in hand mode, they're potentially walking around not really doing anything. I wish I could see this better. It's really super laggy with the Skype screen share, but I can see, for the most part, what's going on.
Yeah, and this is actually a really key moment. You'll see this positioning is very good by him, but it's also a very kind of pinched in position. It's hard for him to make it through this point. So my Gurkha are actually very safe because of this little choke that was created by the Wonder position. Usually when you can create tight kind of pockets like this, it works out well for you. You can control fights way better with them.
Yeah. How so?
It's because the infantry have to kind of cluster up to get through here. They can't really path through very easily.
Yeah.
And you'll see his muskets are through, but his other units aren't. And now I've kind of got him in a good choke position here, where I'm forcing him to push through the choke, which he doesn't want to do.
Yeah. I've got like 1 frame every 5 seconds. This is infuriating, but...
Yeah, and pausing it again, key thing here, I changed the rally point on the aggro from being behind the aggro to being on this side, because now this is where his anti-cav is. And to the same note, these SOAR will turn around and come at this angle. The goal is always just kind of to use my military buildings to kind of pinch his units in the wrong positions.
Nicely done.
And because he fought near all my rally points, I was able to kind of reinforce through his military advantage and come out way ahead on this fight.
Yeah, obviously being closer to where units spawn is definitely an advantage in sort of every single fight.
Yep,
and being so close to that sort of wonder, you could choose which units pop out on which side, depending on where his units are, all of these things.
Yep, exactly. And the other thing to notice is that I'm also going back into Siege. I should be killing these Explorers, but it's actually good to kind of point out some of the mistakes I made in this Rusty game too, I think.
H2O Rusty? What?
Yeah, exactly. So this is one of my first games, and you can see the difference between like perfect play and some mistakes. Like these guys did not go back to siege until that fight was almost over. And now I did actually kill this explorer, and now I'm attacking the shrine because it's lower HP. But you'll see he's doing smart things as well, right? He's coming out with Ashy to try to stop my raids, and it's just constantly keeping the multitasking running from both sides. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit again. You'll see once again, I'm not attacking, I'm just sieging. I'm not really overly concerned with what he's doing in his base because knowing him, it looks exactly like this. What's the point? So I'm just sieging what I can.
What's available? I wish I could see the game more easily. I'm finding it hard to keep up because one frame every 5 seconds is brutal.
Yeah,
Hold on,
I know.
right back.
I'm gonna fast forward once again. So the next big thing I'm gonna highlight is kind of my reaction when I see its fortress. So when I see its fortress, I kind of realize I'm in a good amount of trouble. But my decision is instead to try to age up actually, and I'll show that in a second. This is just putting on some pressure. The reason why I left to go attack this is because I saw the age up, so I knew he was low on military units because I just won a fight and he aged up, so I knew I could probably, do some sort of economic damage.
Okay, back.
And once again, fast forwarding. These raids are very difficult to deal with. I called Mens to try to deal with them, but he just keeps coming back in, and I have to keep garrisoning vills. These vills are actually, by running through here to the TC, this is important too. You always want to run your vills away in the general direction of your army or your town center. But you don't want to have to run through his military. Had I run this way, had I run towards the TC, I would have lost maybe 3 or 4 vills. But instead, I'm going to try to just run them over here and start hunting in a more safe location.
Is your army in that direction as well?
Yeah, I've got some units here.
Oh, I see. Yeah, and you can sort of defend. Yep.
So instead, I'm going to lose only 1 vill, and he's very good at this. He always runs away and keeps harassing. And when players do that to you, you'll notice I didn't go back to that hunt. Instead, I went to the hunt where my army is. I figure, in these type of situations, he's got the speed advantage, so I want my economy to be right next to my army if possible.
Yeah, Ashies have much faster speed than other units, other musketeers.
Yes, and exactly.
And for the time being, he's disincentivized to go there anyway because you have units, but he doesn't know that. Well, he does know that. He sees your shrine. His shrine sees them, rather.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll see I'm actually in I had a really awkward economic layout just because of having to move all my villas off of food and my rustiness as well, the 800 wood. So I'm kind of clicking up here late, but in general I'm going to click up and go to the fortress age now. And the goal here is I want to get siege elephants, because when you get siege elephants, you can stop this nonsense from happening. Because they have to, because if I'm standing on top of this wonder with a siege elephant, he has to stop that from happening. So he can't be out here controlling the game. And you'll see this is exactly what you don't want to have happen. You don't want to be out of control of the game against a Japan player, because they can go and do stuff like this.
On top of your hunts, forcing your villagers away, disrupting your economy, stopping units from being created, and all of the like. Yep, you want to take control of the game with the siege elephant, you say.
Exactly.
Problem with those, though, aren't they rather... Oh, fight, though.
Yep, and this is just me catching him off guard. He overextended outside of his base to try to harass my economy, and as a result, he's going to lose all his army, but...
He's going to get punished.
Yeah.
Ouch. Well, that's good for you.
This is very good for me, and this is kind of what I mean by keeping control of the game. I want to keep his army count low, and I want to keep him having to defend, because once he doesn't have to defend, he'll go and send small Ashy raids. Another point to that actually is there's kind of this imaginary resource in the game that's kind of your APM or your attention. How many things can you do? How many things can you do at once? And
that's true. You want to spend that wisely as well. But go on.
Yeah, and when it's super, right now it's super quiet. He's just sitting here thinking about how he can grab 7 Ashy and where to right-click them next. So, during this time is when I'm going to get raided. And you'll notice that his raids that came off up in here and back over here both happened when I wasn't doing anything. And so now when I get Fortress, that's like my top priority, is to start making things happen. Here's another huge mistake. Rally point was not changed. So I should have had this rally point in base. That's pretty straightforward, though. I won't really comment on why you'd want to have your crates not pop out where there's no villagers.
In a forward location.
Yeah, where there's no villagers.
Exactly.
But see, once again, I wasn't doing anything, and he's over here raiding me now, and I'm trying to put the pressure on. Notice the first card I send is those 2 siege elephants because that's the key that's going to let me start sieging.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm just letting my Gurkha attack shrines while I wait for my upgrades to come in. You know, better to have them do something than nothing.
Exactly.
And at this point, I just have to run my bills. I'm actually very well disrupted by him, and quite frankly, I'm behind here. So my plan is just to try to retake control of the game with the siege elephants and kind of my Gurkha mass.
Your cucumber mass.
Yeah, cucumber mass, as you like to say.
But how do you feel in this spot? Like, do you feel like Japan is quite far ahead economically here? You've been raided a bit, you've lost a few villages, and of course Japan has an insane economy, certainly better than India in the late game. Are you confident that the 2 elephants are going to be enough?
At this point, this is what you do when you're behind in a game. When you're behind in a game, you have to make something happen. I'm sending out military shipments. I'm more focused on having a massive military than economy. And I'm quite far behind right now. If we look at this, I've got 30 vills. He has 50 vills. And,
Plus shrines.
Plus the shrines. But I'm trying to keep his shrine count low. He's actually housed.
That's good.
yeah. Coming back here. So see how having these siege elephants here just changes the game. Units these units would have kept raiding and harassing me, but he knows he has to come back now because of these. He's sending Nagi as well, and so by having my sepoy still alive from earlier, I'm able to defend those.
Yeah.
And I'm kiting these away because these are kind of like the gold. If these die, then I have no more pressure at all, and he knows that too, which is why he's kind of chasing them down.
Yeah, you're going to try and keep them alive. Looks like, though, you're going to come off pretty favorably here. He just lost what looks like about 1,000 resources worth of cavalry and didn't actually achieve really any damage on the elephants.
Exactly, and I've also proactively started queuing Zams because I had a feeling this was coming. And you'll see these siege elephants go right back to it. One important note about siege elephants, I'm going to pause it real quick. They are not culverins or cannons of any sort. So they're actually classed as goons. So the way to kill them is to use skirms or Yumi fire would be effective. So this culverin just does base 40 damage to this, I believe.
Which is absolutely terrible. Did he build that? No, he got that from the Portuguese consul.
Yeah, so we'll watch the culverin. I'll shoot at this again. And it does 40 damage. Maybe less because of range resist. I use inspiration here as well, just because I'm trying to. This is a big fight that's going to be a stand-in fight. So you want to use inspiration in stand-in fight situations.
This is definitely one of the defining fights of the match. Inspiration's certainly a really good ability. Do you want to go over what it does again?
Yeah, sure. So Inspiration, it's a very short run ability, only 20 seconds, I believe, or 10, somewhere in there. And what it does is it boosts all your units' movement speed, attack, and HP. And it's by 20%, so it's a big boost, I think. Yeah. And so, obviously, if someone sees you inspire and they can run away, it's not too strong, right? Because they just kind of run away and most of your bonus is lost. But in that situation, he had kind of stepped up real close to my units and was kind of trying to stand and fight, is what I call it. It's like when you think you can stand there and just let the volleys go back and forth and win.
It's an actual battle, not just a skirmish where you're sort of like kiting back, trying to like just not really engage. Yeah, it's an actual fight. Yeah.
And if they do count as cannons, they don't do full damage like a normal culverin, because that splash shot didn't hit for 200 damage or 160 damage.
Yeah, that makes wow. Well, I don't know if that should be the case, but it is.
Yeah, they're still very killable by skirms. I mean,
yeah,
that's what does the best first time I found. And you'll see he's trying to re-wall this. I'm trying to stop that because I want to keep him from being able to just kind of keep going. And like once he closes the wall, it's a much different game because then he can stand behind it. And you'll see I'm going for his next wonder, right? So I'm keeping the pressure up. These wonders give Japan huge advantages that when they're gone, he cannot get them back.
Yeah, the Shogunate's shrine is gone, so all of his shrines are less, and it's also population. I can believe it grants population. But the Golden Pavilion, yes. That's upgrades available. What else does it do?
The big thing is upgrades. It also has an aura that persists that gives them another basically upgrade card worth of stats.
Is that passive ability? Always on.
It's always
is it an aura or is it just the entire map?
It's not. It's an entire map.
Okay.
And you'll notice I'm pulling these siege elephants and I want to pick off these flaming arrows to try to win this fight because I think I can win it. And this could be argued as a second mistake here. Not finishing off this wonder right away was probably a mistake.
Yeah.
But I think I should still be able to get it, right? Because if I win this fight, I maintain control.
Yeah, true. But is it a mistake, though? I mean, the extra damage from the elephants is certainly not that much, but certainly useful in this fight.
Well,
Or do
I
you think it's
used it
best
on
to
the
spend...
flaming arrows, so I used them as culverins to clean up the flamings. So
Oh, I
that's
see.
why I
Sorry,
think
I didn't see
it was a
any
mixed decision.
terrible FPS.
Yeah, and so you'll see how the entire dynamic of the game changed though. I'll pause one more time here. The entire dynamic of the game changed when I sent the siege elephants. It went from me being totally screwed to me having a chance, and then I microed well, and now all of a sudden I would argue I'm pretty far ahead. So his villager count's only gone up 3, and the time mine's gone up 6, and he's lost 2 of his wonders, which are absolutely important for him.
Yeah.
And once you kill those wonders, Japan's not even that scary in the late game anymore. Once you've killed those 2 wonders, and I'm just gonna sit here and just keep poking away at his major buildings.
Whilst yeah, because he can't deal with them just yet. There comes some Naganetas, though. Do you lose the cannons?
I lose
One of them
one. He
goes
finally
down.
gets one, but I mean, he's just let them run through a whole bunch of Zams.
Yeah,
And he gets a
spent-
second batch of flaming arrows out. So I've also forced him to send unit shipment carts as well. And I back off here because I've seen the second set of flaming arrows, and I feel totally fine with that.
Yeah, he's spent that on flaming arrows. Shipment, not something that helps him the longer the game goes on. This is a one-time use. You forced that from him. He spent quite a lot to get rid of those elephants, and I think they've done sufficient amount of damage, despite losing one.
Yep, and you'll see this is Kinesi's strength, right? The moment I walked away, he closed the wall. I turned around trying to go back in. I'm like, God dang it, the wall's closed already. And see I was gonna use camels and keep that gap open and just kind of keep the pressure on, but he's closed the wall, and now I'm back in. Now I have to go back to a different strategy almost because he got that closed.
Yeah, nicely done by Kielce there. Definitely good to be behind there. Doesn't have to worry about cavalry, and now can just sit behind a wall and shoot. Perfect.
Yep, and the only reason I'm eating these shots is because the siege elephant is going to be able to finish that off. And I canceled my animation, but now I'm back at it. Now I'm going to run away.
What were you killing, finishing off?
2 flaming arrows I was killing with the siege elephant. And now that I've done that, though, now I'm in a really strong position, right? Because the map's almost out of coin. The map's out of coin, and he's even running out of wood in his base, so he's got to start moving out. And you'll see he's in a lot of vulnerable positions. So I get a huge raid off up here, and I fall back, knowing that I can transition. Now that I've got my lead, I can transition into some economy. And this is kind of a classic thing I like to do when I'm in the lead. I'll fast forward through this. You know, these are raids, and I'm going out and just kind of cleaning the map is what I would call this. There's just shrines everywhere. I'm just going to clean it up and start to know where he is on the map.
Yeah, nice. But by transition into economy, do you wanna tell us exactly what you're doing?
Exactly what I'm doing. I'm continuing to make units, obviously, because he's still putting some pressure on. But my shipment, the kind of shipments I'm going to send change, right? Instead of sending unit shipments, I'm going to send upgrade cards. And instead of focusing on pushing on him, I'm going to focus on setting up maybe town centers or getting more villagers on the map.
Yeah, going into that late game, want to grab that advantage now that you can do that without being scared of sort of Japan whilst he's on the back foot.
Exactly, and
recovering.
Hey, and notice again, this is the key to Japan, right? I left his base and let him alone, and look what happens. He's raiding me on 3 different positions. So, once again, just highlighting the importance of keeping the pressure on in that mid-fortress game.
Yeah, definitely. Japan now has more APM to spend the imaginary resource we're talking about when H2O's not in his base, forcing him to do stuff. Kinsey going to spend his, or whoever it is, yeah, it's not Kinsey, doing other things with the time available to him. Rating certainly very good.
Yep.
Do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
I know we're running. This game's running a bit long, so I'm going to fast forward a bit here through this. So these are just standard skirmishes. You'll notice he has walls and he retreats to them, and whenever he gets behind the wall, I run back with my camels. As soon as I can't get any more damage, and I just run back and make him come back out. Meanwhile, this one siege elephant, just like the Seapoint Age 1, it causes massive amounts of havoc, right? I mean, he has to leave his base because this siege elephant is killing his shrines. And you'll notice also all the trades go very well for me because he's trying to harass more than anything. And because he's trying to harass, he's not able to make good trades, right? I'm coming out economic, or resource for resource. These trades go very well for me.
Yeah, nicely.
And you'll notice though, I've got a second TC up. I've got enough resources to go industrial now, and I'm gonna drop a 3rd TC as well. And
wow, super safe. No need to pressure. No need to attack into Japan here. Let him come to you, and let him do stuff whilst you sit back and sort of get bigger and bigger. There's no need to risk going right under his town center or going into his base or anything like that, right?
Yep, exactly. This wall coming up was kind of a surprise to me, actually. I may not go industrial
Oh,
here,
wow.
actually. I probably don't. I'd probably I'd make siege elephants here. So I'm going to fast forward, keep going, just to make sure we highlight all the key points here. This is kind of that earlier game was how you play mid game, and this is how you play late game. And the reason why Kinesi wins a lot of games too is because people don't know how to play the late game, and he does. So he uses his walls and his like early game style to force you to this point. And at this point, you don't know what to do because you don't play this way very often, and he does it every game. And so you'll notice I'm not overcommitting to any fights. I'm booming still, right? I mean, I'm setting up rice paddies. I've got 3 TCs. I'm upgrading them. That's my priority, and my secondary is fighting.
Yeah. The excess resources, so to speak, are being spent on the military there.
Yep, and
Perhaps.
look at the shipment. It's an upgrade card, and I pushed him away, and 3 siege elephants putting the pressure on, right? So this is another 1,000 or so wood he's going to lose. He's got to run his vills all over the map, just trying to deal with this. But I'm not going for the kill, right? This isn't going for the kill. This is just continuing to harass while I boom in the back. I've got 65 vills, and the problem is most people won't have 65 vills. They'll have maybe 40 vills, and they won't be booming behind this. You'll see Kinesi's now, we're about equal in economy, actually, and he's going industrial, whereas I have more military population. And when I see he hits industrial, I keep trying to. I want to make a fight happen again, but not too committed. Just trying to keep the siege elephants working.
Yeah, let them work. True.
Yep.
But
And
the fact that he's
oh, go ahead.
the fact that he's hit industrial, does that concern you? Or is that why you attacked? You knew he'd spent so many resources on aging up, which doesn't give you an immediate bonus. You thought that's the time to go, even though you were still sort of booming.
Yep. And that's why I'm no longer fighting now, because I know he's got industrial units. So every time I see him, I just run away.
Yeah.
And
but for that time being, you were able to kill a couple more shrines with the before those upgrades came into play. But now you can't.
Yep, and see, I'm using my excess camels to clean up these TPs and take them. All economic focus, right? Everything's about economy here. I've got 82 bills.
Oh, yeah, it's Silk Road, isn't it?
I'm trying to boom. I should be making more bills out of my TCs. I'll probably do that soon. This was a mistake, right? This is what most people do. They forget to make bills and they're too focused on this stuff, which doesn't matter as much.
Bill's very, very important. You have to get to 99 as fast. Well, not as fast. Well, yeah,
as
sort of
fast as you can. Really,
possible.
that's correct. And
Not like StarCraft, where you stop making villages.
Yep.
Effectively.
And now I hit industrial. He's out of position here, so I use my camels. I'm not gonna. I'll fast forward. I used inspiration here because the camels make him have to stand and fight. And I'm upgrading all my units right now.
Yeah, definitely have to stand and fight there. Camels obviously have the snaring effect when they're in hand combat. If they weren't there, he'd just run away, and camels move faster. So definitely, definitely good decision. Looks like you're in a strong spot. All your rice paddies up, fully upgraded, almost 99 villages, and and a score lead.
Yep, and you'll notice that the rice paddies aren't here, and the first of all, the Carney is affecting all the rice paddies. That's huge for India, but I'm also building here because of the way Kinesi plays. I know I'm more likely to get raided by small amounts of units than he is, and so I just kind of keep it right where my army is. You know, it's challenging for him to get here.
That is smart. Like, most people would not build their economy next to their opponent. That's really... But that's pretty clever. I mean, it exactly means that your units are always closer. It's harder for those raids to go through. As you mentioned, there's a fight here. I'll stop talking.
Yeah, no, you're okay. This is just another... A lot of these fights are just kind of stand-in fights, really. You just keep flooding reinforcements. Another key mistake people make in the late game is not making enough military production buildings. The most important thing in the late game is that you're able to have the units where you want them, like as fast as possible. And so that's why I'm throwing up 2 more stables. I've got 4 stables now, and I think 4 Raxes, and I'll soon have more than that. And you'll see that having the 4 stables is a huge deal, because if he comes in with Cav, which I think he does soon, I'll have a way to deal with it.
Just reminds me, there's this game I got into the late game with 40 minutes in. I've still got my barracks and stable from the French Samwise build and build the new ones. Definitely good to have multiple production facilities, and it's definitely better to have more buildings than it is to send the upgrade cards that allow you to train units faster from your home city, because those are cards which you could spend on more permanent upgrades. Really not very good, those. Certainly a good idea to build more buildings that only cost wood.
Yeah, and I also notice I'm using my export as I get 800. I want to get the Falk. Falks are really good against Japan if they don't make calls. But also, these 8 red coats probably saved me the game because had I not made them, this Cav would have overran my 12 remaining Gurkha. You know, it's down. It's a count of each Gurkha counting at this point.
Mm.
Um, but because I have 4 stables up, I'm able to make 20 Zams at a time. If I want to make 20 Zams at a time, I can do it. And so there's 10, and then there's there's 20 more coming, right? So
Oh,
there's no
wow.
way I'm gonna get overrun by Cav here.
That Kanimata doing work with all those
Yep.
the resources you're churning out now are insane. Here comes the raid, but shut down by the stable in your base by the
Yep.
looks of it.
By having my military buildings and my base all up in here, he tried to raid, but I
Yeah.
had Zams coming out, and you'll notice
And you find the guy's wood. He's ran out of wood by the looks of it. There it is, forcing them off.
Yep. See, he's used up all his resources. So really, I mean, he's rotating his stuff, which is kind of cool, I guess. It looks like a artistic scene, but he's running out of wood fast. So I mean, I'm not trying to win the game by going in his base, right? This is just continuing to have good fights with 3-unit combos where you have to micro all the units and just trying to outplay him over time.
Just outplay him with your perhaps superior micro skills, and certainly the insane India economy with the Kanimata granting. Do you want to go over to that? Just granting a massive bonus to all of the villages in the area.
Yep,
Did I get the right? Is the Kanimata right? I got the right. Yeah, I got the right wonder.
you did, yes.
Yep.
And the key thing here to notice too is how do I? Let me think about how I kind of explain this. Japan does have a great economy, but they don't have those 2 wonders anymore, right? So the economy is significantly weaker than it used to be.
Yep.
And also their military units are all weaker too because he doesn't have the wonder and he didn't tech the upgrades in it yet.
Yeah. So you'll never get those upgrades, and the passive ability's gone.
Yep, and so this is a surprisingly even game. And these Zams were raiding Vills, and now they're coming back here. But you'll notice as well that it's a kind of delicate balance between how many of all 3 of the unit types you make. So you want to make the right combination to counter him. So I have a lot of Zams, so I'm not worried about Cav anymore. And then I've got Soar here on these. I mean, just the classic stuff. Really nothing too special here.
Are you keeping an eye on what he's making, or predicting what he's going to make from the units that you've been making and adjusting accordingly?
Yeah, you want to predict ahead, and that's why having massive production facilities is good. You want to be you're either in one of 2 positions, right? You either have the counter army or you don't. And right now I don't have the counter army, so I have to adapt to what he has right now.
So you don't want to fight this. You've got to get away and wait for the Sour to come before you go back in here, because without them, this fight is not going to be too good. You want to prolong it by walking away right until they arrive.
Yep, and also look at this one siege elephant, just it's still alive from the beginning of the game. 0 HP, but he's still killing shrines all game long. And he's out of position
here come the Sours!
Here come the reinforcing Sour. And I kind of split off here a little bit. Some of them going for the cannons, some of them going for the Yumi. Yeah. And you'll see, just because I was able to send 20 Soar at a time, here comes the other 10. It's just being able to reinforce and having my units being able to get there is a huge deal in the late game.
And just being able to tech switch that quickly into 20 Sours is very tough if you're not expecting them out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, Kanisi doesn't win his games because Japan's overpowered in the late game. He wins his games because he's better at the late game than you are most of the time. Japan's very good in the late game for sure, but that's not the only reason he's winning his late games.
Yeah. Kanisi good player. For
yeah,
sure.
For sure. And I think it's just important that people kind of, from this game, I would take away, I didn't play it that well. I mean, sure, it wasn't a water map, but I didn't play that well, and I'm still able to win somehow. So, I mean, there were a lot of small mistakes that put me behind early game. But yeah, just you see, I've got the 100 Vills, full full upgrades, all on the Carney. I'm building more military production buildings now. Always keeping your production going. It's almost like a lesson in treaty, right? I'm sure Black Thought or someone else would kind of say, yeah, I get all this stuff. This is what I do every game when I play treaty. But a lot of 1v1 players really don't have all these skills in the late game. And it's also why I mix in these cards too. I don't have all military shipments. I do have a couple of upgrade cards, and you can kind of meta your deck too to kind of match the meta. So if everyone runs all military shipments, and you run like all military shipments but one eco card, like you automatically can kind of push them into the late game and use
Yeah.
that card.
And that gives you the option, if you want it to be there, to play more passively, take the game into the late game where you know that extra card that is economically focused is going to be better than them not having it at all. Like a lot of those decks based around having a semi-FF don't have those eco cards in them because, you want more shipments to take advantage of the fact that you want to go to the Fortress Age pretty soon, e.g. Germany, and sometimes France, and certainly other civilizations. It's, the H2O style, there it is. Thank you very much for watching the game, everybody. Really interesting to see one of your earlier games from before when you first started getting back into it. It kind of highlights you can see sort of some of your own mistakes, and it's nice for us to reflect on those as well, I think. But stay tuned, everybody. We do have more coming up. Do leave a follow on the stream if you haven't done so already. And certainly go and follow it if you're watching this as a YouTube video. There's also a YouTube ESOCTV channel.
Yep,
I
and
will link that as well.
now it is time for the questions.
Ida Holland will post the link to the YouTube channel in the chat. And I believe we are now going to get Ida Holland in. And,
hi guys.
Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Welcome
Hey.
Ida Holland to the stream.
Hello.
The
So,
next